if you listened before, the way I think about it, a lot has to do with just like fantasy football projections, not just real life good, which are two different things.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to episode 78 of the Fly Route Podcast. I am your host, Anthony, aka Tony Playboy, aka Big Body Fournette, aka the KO Kid. I am here with the guys. Y'all got any AKAs for yourself today?
I'm just AKA Keys, AKA got thrashed in my Madden League for the Super Bowl with the Broncos. James let me down. Eagles took the chip. That's it.
Sam G, aka it is too hot outside, aka I was also going to try to think of a Leonard Fournette one, but I like yours, so I'm just going to let you have
it. All right, we are talking running backs and tight ends this episode, giving you our top 15 of each. But before we get into it, are there any disclaimers you guys want to warn the listeners about?
That didn't make the list for who we on again? Running backs?
Or anything that you just want to make sure you get out in front of before they hear what you all got going on.
Hey, ain't nothing I did. This is a mix of all three of us. Like, this ain't no, hey, this was my list. This is it's a list.
For me, I would say this isn't me ranking who was best last year. You can go look that up yourself. You don't need us to tell you who the top 24 were for last year, who the top 15 were for last year. So mine's projected. And if you've listened before, the way I think about it, a lot has to do with just like fantasy football projections, not just real life good, which are two different things. So yeah, those are, I think, my main two kind of caveats going into my rankings.
Real life good and just, that's fair.
Those things are very different. Those things are very different. All right, let's start off with the tight ends. We're going to be getting a little backwards this time, starting from the bottom up. So we are going to start with some honorable mentions. And we got a couple interesting honorable mentions here. The first one that was honorable is Pat Freiermuth. Was anybody surprised to see him in like our 16 spot?
I was not shocked because who his quarterback was. Like, he had a broken down bend in a way. I do think he's talented. Like, I've seen him play the Ravens every time they play. I think he's talented. And then it was just, I think it is shocking though, because Pitt has been getting dogged in ratings, whether it's Madden ratings or like where people think like they've been getting snubbed. And I could he be there? Yeah. Could he not? Yeah. But I think him and the dude out of Chicago are two tight ends that when their situations get correct, like rolling completely, they'll be good.
Okay. Yeah, I had him at 15 just to round out my top 15. And I like him, but I think going off what Keith was saying, it'll be interesting to see post Roethlisberger how he just progresses within the offense, because they had a nice little connection. Even though Ben wasn't great last year, it seemed like he was getting a decent target share, and I'm pretty sure he got hurt towards the end of the year, so have to see how he bounces back from that. But I don't think it was anything serious.
Some other honorable mentions that we had going on: Austin Hooper at 18 and Gerald Everett at 17. Like, those guys seem like, honorable vets. Like, they know what they're doing, but maybe a little bit past their prime.
I think Austin Hooper he might be past his prime. I think he's going to fit in Tennessee's system really well. I think Gerald Everett, I don't know if it's a lack of really trying or what it is. So I feel like he could be so I'm not gonna say it's a lack of trying. I just maybe not the good scheme fits or something, because I feel like skill wise stuff, he could compete really well. Honestly, if I had to say, Seattle, I think he had a good year last year, but he lost Russ. So everybody's numbers went from probably going pretty high to going down the tube a little bit.
He's going to the Chargers, right?
Yeah, he's on the Chargers now.
Does that affect how y'all project him moving forward? Do you think he and Justin Herbert could establish a good thing?
I don't know because I feel like all Herbert's big target receivers are like possession receivers, and he's essentially that at a tight end. And I feel like they'll be fine. Like I feel like they'll get a connection rolling, but I mean Austin Eckler catches the ball out the backfield too. So like
Right.
it ain't that much ball to go around.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen is maybe the one of the most ultimate possession receivers, and he really likes Mike Williams down the field.
Loves him.
So, like, yeah, he's in a situation where I'm sure, like, he'll get some balls, but he'll probably have another, like, 500, 600-yard season, like something in that area, and nothing, like, super crazy from him. Let's get to the official list. Starting at 15, we have Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. Man, all right, Noah Fant's really good. He did last season, picked up about 670 yards, had 4 touchdowns. Like, I like Noah Fant. He gets a little bit of a boost. Well, actually, he loses a bit of a boost because he's now in Seattle, right?
Yeah, but he's not gonna have a quarterback.
So that's a little tough. He rounds out our 15 spot. Does anybody have any feelings on Fant?
I feel like I don't know. I mean, I feel like he was in a good situation if he could have stayed with Russ for sure. Russ would have used him. I don't know because they got a lot of questions. They could probably go try to snag Jimmy G if he gets released, or they try to trade for him. I mean, it's in the same division, conference, but maybe like Niners, if you can offer them something good or like whatever, better than just cutting them. So I don't know. I think his is gonna depend on his quarterback. Like the same way we talked about like DK Boom and more. It's quarterback reliant, and they're in a run system with Pete Carroll. I think that's the downfall.
All right. So, speaking of the devil at 14, we got a young Chicago Bear, Cole Kmet. Like, I was actually happy to see Cole Kmet get his respect from everybody else on the list as well. Like, even though he has not scored a touchdown last year, I just feel like his connection with Justin Fields is pretty good. And he's going to be going into another year with Fields. And at this point, it's going to just be him and Mooney as the 1 and 2 with the most experience and kind of, rapport with Justin going into a year that I hope he takes a big jump. I like Kmet at 14.
He's one that I feel like I haven't watched or paid attention to very much, but through doing research for the rankings was like, okay, this guy's pretty solid. The one thing that I did notice that kind of had me rank him a little bit lower, like you said, was the touchdowns thing. But if you say that him and Fields have just like a good, strong connection early, I think that the red zone targets with that will probably come too.
All right. Well, we keep going at 13. At 13, we got Tyler Higbee. This is kind of one of those, like, he's going to produce, but is he producing because of the system, or is he producing because, like, he has that much type of talent? I feel like, unfortunately, we just think about that when it comes to guys in those Shanahan-style offenses, whether it's the Rams, whether it's the 49ers, now possibly the Dolphins. It's like, yeah, is it you or is it the scheme?
I think he's kind of like he's in that weird mix of like where we said with Austin Hooper. Maybe he'll have like flashes, but he's not the primary target in that system. You got Cam Akers come back healthy. Odell, if they snag Odell again, Allen Robinson's going to be a big part in that system. The young tight end behind him that's faster, that I think is just like trying to figure out the playbook, is behind him. I don't think he's bad. He's definitely consistent. Like they'll utilize him, but it's just like he'd probably be one of those dudes that get like 4 receptions there, a couple receptions here. He's not getting a lion's share of receptions.
Yeah, I'd say I was much higher going into last year on Tyler Higbee than I am this year. I had him at 13. That's where he ended up on our list, right? So yeah, I still think he'll be good, but like you said, Anthony, it's just like the question of if he's actually good versus if the Rams are just good is one that makes me not want to move him up above some of the guys I have above him. I don't know what y'all think about that.
Yeah. I think, oh my bad. I think everybody above them is kind of like they're more athletic and they could probably do more essentially. And you've seen them do it at a level, so it's kind of also like, you know.
Facts. I'm definitely with this. I like where we're at number 12. So number 12 was unanimous, picked as the 12th best tight end by everybody on this list. And if it wasn't for his yards total, I'd be like, that's a little low. And it might still be a little low, but it's Hunter Henry. We all put him at 12, right? So he's our 12th pick, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry tied the league for most touchdowns by a tight end, most receiving touchdowns by a tight end. It was 9. Travis Kelce had 9. Mark Andrews had 9. Dawson Knox had 9. And Hunter Henry had 9.
I feel like Dawson getting those like red zone ones when Allen's not running. Travis, is taking it the distance. But Dawson, I've seen Dawson catch some long ones, but I'm pretty sure his is utilized in the red zone because Diggs is probably getting doubled. But I think Hunter, I think he's always had the talent. He's kind of like when he was younger, people were like, oh, like kind of how TJ Hawkinson is now. But what's his face? He was just injured. So I think that was the bad thing. Like he was always banged up in and out. You knew Hunter Henry was special, but it's just like, all right, well, is he going to stay consistently out there? And I think that's the real major question on him, I would say.
All right. I feel like he's benefited from the Patriot system a good amount. We will go to number 11. And number 11, Dawson Knox. I feel like Hunter Henry should have been over Dawson Knox, even though I also rated Dawson Knox 11 and just in retrospect, because Dawson Knox switched teams, didn't he?
No,
Knox is still on the Bills.
He's still on the Bills, and that's why I would have him above Hunter Henry. Not because he's a more skilled player necessarily, but like
Uzomah switched teams. My bad.
Got Josh Allen, and I like Matt Jones, but one of them has Josh Allen, so that gives him the slight edge for me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's my bad. I was thinking CJ Uzomah, who just left Burrow. Yeah. But yeah, Dawson Knox was at 11. I didn't mind that one. Let's talk about this one. At 10 is Zach Ertz, and at 9 we have TJ Hawkinson. They are only 2 points apart. If you got a fantasy draft, you know what I'm about to do here. Fantasy draft. TJ Hawkinson, Zach Ertz, 2 best tight ends left on the board. Who are you picking?
I'm taking TJ Hawkinson, I think.
Yeah, I'm taking TJ.
Yeah. Even though Zach Ertz had more yards, TJ Hawkinson, I think just in a couple other areas, I just like a bit more. And also, I just don't know how Zach Ertz' target share is impacted by Marquise Brown and just Rondale Moore, and then when Hopkins comes back. So I just feel like Hawkinson is more, it's more like, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Jameson Williams when he comes back healthy. And
then Swift, like that's it.
Yeah.
And they're going with the hot hand. They're not like, hey, I'm feeding this one dude. Like I think Swift's getting the majority of the carries, and then they're going like hot hand from Swift off of like the run action.
And all right, can I be honest, yo? I feel like TJ Hawkinson is overrated.
He is, which is I have him, I think, lower.
That is.
He's overrated, I think, generally. I don't think I'm overrating him. I have him at 8. I think a lot of people in like 6.
Yo, I had him at 13, my guy.
And where'd I have him? I think I had him at like top 10 at least.
You had him at 6, actually. Exactly at 6. You had him at 6. I had him at 13. Sam had him at 8. And I'm just like, man,
do you think he's overrated or just on the Lions?
On the Lions.
Jared Goff. I think it's both. I look, even here's how I feel about this. Even when he had Matthew Stafford, who was a good quarterback, could get you a lot of yards.
Wasn't
like
Matthew injured?
Kenny Galladay.
His first year when he got there?
As
a rookie, when he came, wasn't Matthew injured?
Yeah, but he still had a full season in Matthew Stafford. I know that for a fact. He probably had 1.5 seasons in Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
And I think that season he had Matthew Stafford was the season he went to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he still only put up 723 yards. Yes, that's what I'm talking. He still only put up 723 yards. TJ Hockenson is overrated. Like, you can see it every time you see him on the field. It's like flashes of the athleticism, the route running. He could go up and get the ball. And it looks like eye test. You're like, God damn, look at that boy. Great. Yeah, and then you look at the stat sheet at the end of games. You look at the stat sheet at the end of seasons, and you're like, hold on.
Like, what are we talking about?
He ain't really out there like that.
I just think I'm high on him because I think what I think he can do. And, maybe he's that dude that doesn't stay a Lion for long. And maybe, like, returns his career. Like, kind of how, like, Hunter Henry's having a better time with the Patriots, but one, because he's healthy. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like we can see something like that.
Look, I feel you. The TJ Hockenson thing has just been on my mind after his rookie year.
No, I'm with you even more now. Just after looking around a little bit more, he is overrated. But he is still, I think, a top 10 tight end in football. In the NFL.
He played his first year. He played 7 games, or he started 7 games. That second year, he played all 16 games, 700 yards, 67 receptions, 6 touchdowns. Following year, 61 receptions, only 583 yards. I'm gonna assume that's because of golf and not having Stafford.
He also only played 12 games.
Yeah, and he could be one of those dudes that after the catch, maybe he's not getting loose like that. You know what I mean?
Look, I'm just saying, you got him at 6, Sam had him at 8, and I'm just like, ugh. Like, word?
I mean, he had almost as many yards, if not more, than Dawson Knox and Hunter Henry in 12 games. So
he's top 10 for me. I'm taking him top 10.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving. At 8, we have Mike Gesicki. I like Mike Gesicki at 8. I think I had him at 9. No, I had him at 8 exactly. Both you and Sam had him at 9. So, like, he's really hovering in that spot that we wanted him at. Mike Gesicki runs routes like a receiver, catches the ball like one, but, I mean, he's franchise tagged as a tight end.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that money is different.
Try not to do that. Like, they're like, no, don't want to do that.
That money is different. He's franchise tagged as a tight end. Like, I think Mike Gesicki's numbers are going to be interesting because of the incoming target competition in Tyreek Hill. And like, of course, Chase Edmonds, who can catch out the backfield. Mike Gesicki's kind of a guy that if you're asking me fantasy advice for, I'd probably be like, be wary.
I'd be so confused on fantasy where to tell you to take Mike.
Yeah, I'd be
not
wary.
Talent wise, just fantasy. I'd be like, you're gambling. Don't ask me.
So that one is interesting. I actually like where we are at for 7 and 6. 3-point difference between the two. We got Dallas Goedert, right? Now he's running the show tight end wise in Philadelphia versus Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys. A little NFC least head to head at our 7 and 6 point. Who are y'all taking?
I mean, one's definitely getting the ball more this year. I think Schultz between Michael Gallup come back from injury, Amari Cooper's gone. Like, he's definitely getting the lion's share of the ball, probably with Dallas between CeeDee Lamb and him. I think I rated Goddard above him, but I just
by one spot.
Yeah, I think it's give or take, but I think Goddard's numbers might be a little bit worse this year because he's gonna have an arsenal. Like, AJ Brown comes over, the defense drafted pretty well. Like, it's gonna be. I feel like they're gonna be like run centric, you know. But he has a connection with what's his face? I can't think of his name. No, I'm talking about Eagles.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, he has a connection with Jalen Hurts, so I think Goddard could still put up some numbers, but I don't know how crazy they would be because I think he only went for like 800 this year, 700 to 800. So you're gonna pair Hurts with the receiver that is physical after the catch. Like Hurts can dump it to AJ Brown and then he can get lost.
Okay, well, I think Dalton Schultz is underrated. Like I went into this list figuring out my
just catching the ball, not blocking, right?
Is that not blocking? No, not blocking. Because let's be honest, for most tight ends at this point, they are receivers.
That's fair. I'm glad you clarified that because that man not blocking.
Like when a tight end is good at blocking, it's kind of now people are talking about like, oh, he's a really good blocker, right? Or he's a really good blocker. We never talk about him because all he does is block. Like Packers were rotating Tyen and old vet. Oh man, his name is escaping me. Damn.
Marcedes Lewis, he plays fullback.
Yes, Marcedes Lewis, yes. And like Marcedes Lewis is always in on like extra protection, rarely is catching the ball, but like really technically proficient at blocking, right? But we'll never talk about Marcedes Lewis like ever again at this point, right? And that's just how the game goes. So tight ends are glorified receivers. Dalton Schultz having 8 touchdowns and 800 yards on the season very quietly was something I did not expect when kind of delving into all of the stats for receivers. Also, with Amari gone and the replacement being James Washington, I expect him, like, he's going to hoop. He's really going to get out there with it. I was quite surprised. I did not give him enough credit for the player that he developed into.
Yeah, I agree with that. And he's one of those where it's just like, maybe not real life better, but he had double the touchdown, so I'm putting him one spot above.
Maybe not real life better, but he had double the touchdown. That's fair. Maybe not real life better, but you had double the touchdowns. I gotta say that.
All right, we are in our top 5. Our top 5, where things are starting to get a little juicy. Our number 5 is kind of crazy because he's coming off his rookie year, but it's Kyle Pitts. Right, Kyle Pitts. Keith had him at 5. I had him at 4, and Sam had him at 5.
He's a freak, man. You got to think. I used to talk about it with Nick when Cover 4, when we were doing it. Just like they didn't use him early on, like whether they didn't know how to use him, what they were doing. Like he was going like what was the first 3 games not touching the ball, and then just erupts. And he erupted and still got 1,000. So you got to figure. Granted, it was all him because there's no Calvin Ridley. There's no, Russell Gage is on the other side, but they're just doing whatever in it. Like next year, still no Calvin Ridley this year, but he's still gonna. I think between him and Drake London and the Desmond Ridder might be kind of interesting to see. So I still like him to go get 1,000 this year because that's different. As a rookie, that's crazy. He's fast. He's next level fast too. At that big of a guy too.
Yeah, and he's not the greatest blocker, but I saw one thing that George Kittle said about him, which is just that he at least puts in effort to block on every single day, and on top of that is basically an offense all by himself. Now he has like some more guys coming on to take some of that away, but do y'all think that will really impact his target share that much? Do you think Drake London will end up being the number 1 target, or you think it's still Kyle Pitts?
Nah, it's definitely Kyle still. Because you the crazy thing is with Kyle, like you can do with Travis Kelce, and you can do it with Darren Waller. You can go tell them boys to go get in the slot. Like, go get in the slot. And I'm saying they can be real efficient. Not saying Mark Andrews and George Kittle can't go play in the slot, but like those dudes are all loose enough and fast enough to like destroy someone in the slot. Because normally in the slot, you might have the safety go play you, or if they're in dime, you got the shiftier corner but smaller guy. Those dudes abuse those guys.
Vibes. All right. This is the very interesting thing to me because for all of us, 4 and 5 was between two players. Their scores ended up having a 1 point difference. And now number 4, just 1 point ahead of Kyle Pitts, is Darren Waller. All right. Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts, whose season are you taking next year?
Kyle Pitts off the season, but I mean, talent-wise, I'd go to Darren Waller, but I don't think that Darren Waller is getting the ball with Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Demarcus Robinson and Josh Jacobs in the back. I think that's a lot of ball with a terrible offensive line to try to figure out what to do with it.
All right, real life versus fantasy hits us once again.
That one is so tough. God, like I think Kyle Pitts will have better numbers, and like that's kind of how I've been going off of it. Like, but I want to put Darren Waller above because he's just done it for a little longer, and will be on a really good team. I think so. I like value that, like not just empty production, but like I think he'll have good numbers on a good team.
Okay.
So I think I'll take that. Like if that's the scenario where Kyle Pitts has better numbers, but the Falcons are terrible, and Darren Waller still has really good numbers, but Vegas is good, I think I would take that season. But that's just like if everything happens that way. But I would not be surprised at all, and I do think Kyle Pitts probably have like more catches, more yards, more touchdowns, that type of thing.
Okay, vibes. I'm feeling it. Let's see our top 3 tight ends. And 3 is probably a surprise to nobody. It was also the only other unanimous across the board person at a ranking for us. And it's, of course, George Kittle with the 49ers. I mean, best blocking tight end in football, and still had 900 yards and 6 touchdowns in 14 games. Yeah, him and Neutron. Like, absolutely.
Bro, that man's different, bro. Like, he's a dude, like, you watch his tape, and I've seen him on, like, the coldest balls thing with Kevin Hart, or the I Am Athlete thing when he did that. And him as a dude, like, just not knowing him, like, just in the interviews when he talks and you get to see how he is. He's a big Harry Potter fan. He has a Harry Potter type. Like, he's like a big, like, nerd. Like, he doesn't let, like, it seems like the NFL influence of how guys are, like, it does not rub off. Like, he's just George Kittle. It's kind of hilarious. But, like, blocking-wise, he's crazy. After the catch, he's wild. I feel like if he could have stayed healthy, like, he would be really different. I think a lot of times when I play Madden, like, it's funny, I always try to trade for him, regardless. Like, if I'm not using the Ravens and have Mark Andrews, I'm trying to trade for him. So I think he's definitely different. You get him on your team, Niners are blessed to have him.
Okay. Vibes. Yo, let's talk about the top 2. The top 2 are obvious. They are 1 point differentiated between the 2 of them. And at 2, we have Mark Andrews with the Ravens. And at 1, we have Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was not unanimous because I put Mark Andrews above. Let's talk about it.
Why'd you put Mark Andrews above?
I think Mark Andrews cooked his season last year. Like, it's crazy. Mark Andrews had more yards. He had more receptions. He had a better average per target. He had the same amount of touchdowns and dropped only 3 passes on more targets. Travis Kelce, I'm pretty sure, led the league in drops for a tight end at 10.
He did?
Travis Kelce dropped 10 passes last year. Mark Andrews had more targets and dropped 3.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. Early on, though, Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown used to drive me crazy. It was that year where Lamar won the MVP. Them motherfuckers was dropping so many damn balls. Like, I was like, bro, what are y'all doing? Like, and they were dropping it. They weren't dropping it. It was just hitting the ground. Like, it was like tip balls, like in the air going. Like, the dude's taking it the other way. I'm like, bro, come on now. Yeah. I think Marky Mark got loose last year. And that's with having quarterbacks in and out. Yeah, he definitely special.
Back half of the season, 5 games with Brett Hundley. 5 games with Brett Huntley.
Tyler
Huntley. Sorry.
Get it correct, boy. He's a Florida boy.
Tyler Huntley.
Just no bum.
All right. You're right. He is not a bum. That's my bad. Give him his respect. He was actually balling out there. I'm pretty sure he beat the Bears. So
he's not Lamar, though. He's definitely not Lamar, but he is definitely somebody you can have. He's respectable. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, I think he's back with us, but if some team was like, yo, we want him, you know?
Yeah. Like, honestly, the fact that Travis Kelce had Mahomes the whole time. So I like that. I know that Travis Kelce is going to get a big bump because, like, you know, Tyreek is gone, but I can't take Travis over Mark because Hollywood is also gone, and that was the second biggest target for Lamar, and they didn't really replace Hollywood.
Hey, you know the crazy shit about this?
You're not wrong.
I tell Ravens fans, like, you can't teach speed, bro. And that man, regardless of him dropping the ball, was ridiculously fast. Like, dudes can have better hands than him. And then last year, he took a big leap, like, in his overall game. He still dropped the ball, but his whole overall game got better. That's not something you can easily replace. Like, unless they're about to go get Will Fuller, who, you know, if he's going to be on the field, but, like, could be that, it's going to be a lot more boxing Mark Andrews in.
Yeah, I mean, this is the other thing for me. The Chiefs, while these guys, even collectively or not Tyreek Hill, they added 2 more mouths to feed after losing Tyreek Hill. And I want to say was it MVS and Juju?
MVS, and they drafted Sky Moore. And they still got
so 3. So 3. Yeah. So, like, I feel like the Chiefs reloaded more in a fashion that the Ravens didn't, which means that, like, that passing game is going to be Mark Andrews and maybe Rashad Bateman if you think he takes the jump. That's why I had Mark Andrews as 1. Y'all who had Travis Kelce, go ahead, do your thing.
I just think Mahomes is going to be, even though there's, like, more mouths to feed, I think he's just going to be throwing the ball so much more that it maybe doesn't matter less for target share purposes. Like, Hollywood Brown leaving obviously means that Mark Andrews is even more of Lamar Jackson's number 1 target. But Tyreek Hill leaving not only means that Patrick Mahomes is still more reliant on Travis Kelce, but it also means that even if they're bringing in more receivers, it probably only means he's just going to throw the ball more because their running game is still up in the air unless Clyde Edwards-Helaire becomes good all of a sudden or Ronald Jones becomes that guy. But I still think
I like Rojo.
I still think Pat Mahomes is going to be throwing the ball like upwards of 60 times a game. So
no, I don't think they're throwing the ball that much.
50 times a game, 40 to 50 times a game.
I think they're going to try to run it with Rojo and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though both of them got fumbling issues. So that is going to be insane to see. Like, that's what got Rojo thrown in the doghouse, was fumbling. That's why playoff Lenny got as much share, a lion's share. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he'll definitely put the ball on the ground. So they would thrive if they had just a dominant running back. Like, they would thrive. I mean, maybe it's still young though. Clyde Edwards is young. Rojo's kind of young. They can all turn around and take a leap.
You think Kareem Hunt would come back?
And that man was on some next level trajectory if what happened didn't happen.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Speaking of Kareem Hunt, to the running backs.
Yeah, we're rolling right into that.
Okay. Let's get it through. The way I want to start the running backs is our honorable mentions, of course, but at 2021 and 19, basically these 3 guys, they were all tied with the same amount of points, and they're actually some pretty big names. Kareem Hunt, speaking of, Saquon Barkley, and DeAndre Swift were all tied at the border of our top 20. So those three guys, whose season are you banking on the most?
I think you have to bank on Saquon. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I think the biggest thing with me and Saquon, I think I'd say he probably needs to lose some weight, like because in his thighs, not in like his shoulders, nothing. His thighs are so big, bro. I don't know if it's like too much for him, and they just overuse him. Like I hate when people like they run a player into the dirt, and then in like 2 years, 3 years, you're like, why isn't that player the same? Like that is exactly what you see with Christian McCaffrey. Like you saw it with Christian McCaffrey, you've seen it with Cam Newton, you see it with so many dudes. Like you can't. Some dudes you can do that. There's dudes like you get that Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, the Mike Evans type guys. Like you can they'll be able to handle that. But there's some dudes you cannot. Like if they even show you that they can't do that, stop trying to force feed them like that. So I would say Saquon be your best bet. And if Kareem gets out from under Nick Chubb, then he could probably take a bigger leap. They still use both of them, but he could take a way bigger leap. Like say if the Bucks were like, you know what, Lenny's bullshitting. Let's go get Hunt. Because that's a system. They throw the ball, they run it. He can catch, and he runs really well. I could see that.
Okay.
For me, I'm taking DeAndre Swift. I had him highest on my projected rankings going into the year, and I just think the Lions are super high on him and going to give him like the lion's share, no pun intended, of the share in their offense. And I just like from just like what limited kind of, I wasn't camped out in front of my TV watching Lions games last year, but from the limited sort of times I did get to watch him, I like what I saw both in the run and the pass game. So I think there's potential in both of those areas for him to have a big impact on probably a pretty mid Lions team. Not even mid, pretty bad.
Pretty mid. Yeah. That's pretty mid. Pretty mid Lions team.
All right. The next couple of honorable mentions that we have Josh Jacobs and Damian Harris are kind of the two that I want to talk about, because Damian Harris I feel like is really good, but like you play for the Patriots, so no one can trust anything about you.
Yeah, that's my main thing. I like Ramondre Stevenson might just be the running back for the Patriots next year. James White could just end up being the Patriots running back again. They'll just do whatever.
Yeah, but he also had 15 rushing touchdowns last season.
And
like that was crazy. That was crazy. Like, yeah, he had like over 900.
You said,
Look, I had him at 14 personally, but that was just because I saw his touchdown total and I was like, that's ridiculous. He had like 15 touchdowns, over 900 yards, like crazy numbers. So I was like, he's a guy that I think if we could predict or feel like the Patriots were more consistent in their personnel choices, especially in running back, he should have a much higher ADP, but you just never know. That shit's a black box. We should get right into the top 15. Starting at our number 15, we actually have Elijah Mitchell from the San Francisco 49ers. And again, whenever it comes to the 49ers, that running backs, wide receivers, skill position guys, is it them or is it the system? Because we've seen Jerick McKinnon get off in this system. We've seen who else? They've had a litany of guys. I'm pretty sure.
But he's pretty good if he's healthy. I don't think he's like that rare breed where his speed is so elite. Stretch runs.
Jeff Wilson has been good for 49ers.
Yeah, like I feel like here's what I will say about Elijah Mitchell. If he is the starting running back for the 49ers, he is basically guaranteed to put up numbers. Right? Like that I can think I could map on. He had 963 yards last year, had 5 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. I'm pretty sure he missed a game here and there. So like definitely high floor if he can stay healthy. 14, we got big body Fournette for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. So, like, oddly kind of shocked because I think Sam had Leonard Fournette ranked at 10. At 10. I had him at 18. Yeah, I had him at 18, and Keith had him at 17, which he ends up in our top 15 because Sam had him at 10. You got to talk to us, boy.
So, you got it. Obviously, these rankings took place before we found out his weight. But I just think this is one of those fantasy versus real life ones. Leonard Fournette last year for fantasy was like top 5 whole year. Kind of had like a resurgent year, and especially in the playoffs, looked like he could potentially be getting back to old form. And they lost Ronald Jones, so I just think like even though they're mad at his weight coming in, what are you going to give the rookie the starting running back job with Tom Brady? So I would guess they're just going to let Leonard Fournette play himself into shape through training camp and everything, and probably let him play some preseason games, and that he'll still be getting a big target share. I don't really think that anyone should be worried that he's 260. Like, he's huge. I feel like you can get it from 260 to 245 pretty quick as an athlete, and then no one will care. So yeah,
260 though.
Yeah.
He said 15 pounds. He said 15 pounds in the next month and a half.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Look, I will say that Leonard Fournette is really, really productive in Tampa Bay. Like, I was a little shocked when he kind of got tossed to the side from the Jaguars, but
because they beat the shit out of him. That same shit I be talking about. They did that to him when they had a
but he actually still had it in the tank though, because as soon as he got to Tampa Bay, he showed that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he was washed yet, and like you could see him being washed because they ran him into the ground. They let go of him, and he was still quite good. As soon as he got
the year they let go of him, he went for 15 games. He got 1,100 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns.
1,100 yards the year they let go. He was not bad. Granted, James Robinson looked amazing, right? As soon as they let go of him, James Robinson had a breakout season, was crazy, but then he gets hurt, and then they draft Travis Etienne because they hired fucking Urban Meyer, which they obviously should not have done. So like they doubled up in running back positions when they had a guy after Fournette that was cheap, but whatever. He also had like almost 1,300 all-purpose yards last season and like 10 total touchdowns. His numbers are crazy. I think it is the Rojo being gone thing is definitely a big plus. At 13, we got David Montgomery. Man, I'm just happy to see a Bear on one of these lists. Well, we got one on both of these lists, so that's good. But David Montgomery, we have him at 13, and actually, this is a good one here. David Montgomery's at 13, and at 12, we have Zeke. They are only separated by 1 point in our ranking. David with 39, Zeke with 38. Who y'all taking?
David Montgomery has a young dude behind him that's been on his ass, it seems like. And then so does Zeke with Tony Pollard. So I don't. Zeke put up 1,000 yards with a line that wasn't as good, and people were saying Zeke was super washed. I mean, I think Zeke does benefit. He does need to have a better offensive line because he's at that age, but he came last year in shape. I mean, if he's in shape this year, he probably gets another 1,000 again. So it's just, I don't know. Honestly, that's a toss-up. I feel like go either one. I feel like maybe you can go David because he's younger, but David's offensive line is hot garbage. Zeke's is like, it's all right. It's not even bad. If everybody's healthy, it's real good. But, well, it's not real good. They lost Landon Collins. Everybody else is older. It's okay. But that Chicago line is not even okay. I can line these 2 water balls up and Zeke can run behind them.
Look. All right, Sam.
I'm going Zeke. He got 1,000 yards while hurt the whole season. I feel like if he has a slightly healthier season, he can be better. Now, that said, I think Zeke will be not a productive productive player in like the next 2 to 3 years because they've just used him a ton year after year. But I still think he has it in the tank. It's like going into this year, I would take Zeke over David Montgomery, I think.
Okay. This is interesting because like Zeke has been getting a lot of flack for the last couple years, but like I'm just not convinced. Like Derrick Henry was going crazy, right? Before he got hurt last year. We can all agree on that. Had like 930 yards plus. It took people weeks to catch up. He was averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Zeke averaged 4.2 on the year. Like
I think you're just splitting hairs. Which one are you gonna take?
Oh, I'm taking Zeke, period. I'm just like, at this point, I think Zeke is overhated.
I think it's just because it's the Cowboys and everybody thinks that's America's team. I don't know who the fuck deemed them America's team, but I think it's just the hype of like where they were at one point, and they just never have gotten back there in such a shit division. It's like when you're deemed America's team, and I don't know who the hell deemed you that, but you somehow got that, and you're supposed to be up here all the time, and you're just barely getting to the door. It's like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And I feel like he catches the lion's share of that because people are like, oh, well, Zeke's not running the ball as well as he used to. No shit, that offensive line isn't as good. And you guys put all the shit on the Dak being really good. So you kind of need Dak to put up or shut up.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm feeling that. It's also, let's see. We are at 11. So our 11, and I was a little surprised that he was this high, not for any talent reasons, mostly just because of like, just workload. Javonte Williams with the Denver Broncos, total score of 34. I mean, me and Sam had him at 12. You had him at 10. So he's hovering. I'm a little concerned with Melvin Gordon. Like, I had him at 12 and Melvin Gordon at 16. I'm the only person that ranked Melvin Gordon, right? But like, look, they have Russ, so they should be passing the ball more, in my opinion. And like, he has to split those carries, and they were splitting them damn near 50% last year.
They both got one for 900 yards.
Yeah, their numbers were very similar, right? Melvin had like 15 more yards, had twice the touchdowns, twice the rushing touchdowns, and one less receiving touchdown.
But you gotta think he's a vet to a rook, so I feel like that's big on the rookie. I feel like Melvin, he almost shouldn't even let it be a competition. Like Melvin should have just
like they split their carries.
They split the carries,
50%. Yeah. Like they each rushed 203 times, like down the middle. Not like kind of half and half, like exactly half and half.
And Rush could get you like 300 yards on the ground next year, just himself.
But
so
here's what I think is someone who had him on my team in fantasy. It felt like Williams got the ball a lot more at the end of the year. So someone would have to check that, obviously, but maybe Melvin Gordon got the ball way more at the beginning because they wanted to give the ball, give the ball to the vet at first and work the rookie in. So even though their share was split pretty evenly, when they got the ball could have been different.
Okay. I like that. I mean, Javonte Williams is huge. Like, he breaks tackles, like yards after contact. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, him and Khalil Herbert, also young guy in Chicago you were talking about. But, like, the way that they bounce off contact and just keep going is kind of ridiculous. We got our top 10 now. And at 10, which is maybe I think this is controversial no matter where. Like, you think it's too high, too low. But at 10, we put Christian McCaffrey, right? Sam had him ranked at 4. I had him ranked at 10 exactly. And you had him ranked at 18, Keith.
I ranked him.
Talk to us.
Bro, I ranked him, Saquon, and somebody else. They're all three of them are right there. It's like a gang of them that are injured, and I don't know what to do with them.
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. Like, because I don't know what J.K. would do healthy yet. I don't know what Saquon would do if healthy. and I damn sure don't know. I've seen what CMC looks like. All three of those dudes easily could be a top 10 running back this year, with surefire ease if they stay healthy. I think CMC, he just needs Carolina not to run him in the dirt. If he's healthy this year and can play, like he needs to talk to them and be like, yo, you cannot. If I'm catching passes, I can't. You got to go let Herbert, Chuba Herbert, the rookie they had last year. Yeah, you got to let him run the ball more. Like if they're going to have him catch, and they don't need to have CMC catching passes unless it's easier for him. If it's easier for him to have him catching passes, then Hubbard is running the ball. But other than that, I mean, I think his talent is ridiculous. Like you've seen it. His talent, like he's in a rare group with, I would say, Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook, maybe even Austin Eckler. But I'm not that big on Austin Eckler, to be honest.
Ooh, all right.
I don't think he's a bum, but I just don't. I'm just not that big on Austin Eckler. I'm not sold on him.
I am, but we will get there.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my Christian McCaffrey take, I guess.
Sam CMC at 4.
Whoa, you're crazy.
Vibes.
You're fucking.
Look, I'm pretty sure like Madden had him up there too.
Yeah, they out they rabbit ass mind. The fuck is wrong with these people, bro? The fuck, bitch.
For me, it's not even that much like of a hypothetical. Like for Saquon, it is still like a hypothetical. Like if Saquon played the whole year, I couldn't tell you I know that he's going to be a top 10 running back. But if CMC plays the whole year, even close, I can tell you I know he will be a top 10 running back because we've seen it. Like
he's gonna be top 10 and not play next year for sure.
For sure. but if he's healthy for this season, he's for sure top 10. Like I don't really know what to do with that exactly when I'm ranking because I'm like, I don't think he's gonna play the whole season. Probably not. But when he does, he's the best. He's like at least like from a production standpoint, like 1, 2, or 3 in terms of running back. And so I don't want to put him there just off hypothetical, but I don't want to take him out of my top 5 and him play the whole season and then end up being number 1. You know, so I'm like, this is, I feel like my last year of holding on to like the CMC, like I'm keeping him top 5 regardless of if he was hurt last year or not. If he misses the majority or like even close to the majority of this year, I think I'm not doing this anymore next year and I'm just over it. But I think this is my one last, like, maybe he'll play and it'll be cool.
Sam has been hurt before, but he's willing to try one more time.
Exactly.
I had him at 10. I'm in the middle of y'all, and I feel like that's actually exactly why, right? You ain't seeing him often, but when you see him, you know it's there. That's kind of why I couldn't move him any higher, but no lower. Hopefully C-Mac balls out. And if we get to see Baker Mayfield with C-Mac, that's going to be crazy. I actually, like, I think that would elevate Baker's play significantly, having a weapon like that the route tree for him is actually very short. He just makes the rest of it happen for you. So we will go to our number 9. And our number 9 is Najee Harris, coming off the rookie season where he was really just the dog and engine of this Pittsburgh Steelers team that ends up making it to the playoffs again finally. So Keith had him exactly at 9. I had him at 6. And Sam had him at 11.
He's special.
He is. And I don't think people understand how his profile looks like Dalvin Cook, but his numbers actually look more Austin Eckler, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
That's the crazy. I think he is extremely underrated for this reason, especially for anybody that plays in PPR formats. Like he profiles as like a Dalvin Cook bruiser, run them down, but he also had, I want to get this right for you, 467 reception yards on 67 catches? No, 74 catches. He caught 74 balls for 467. You see your face, Keith?
The fuck?
Yeah, I told you his profile looks Dalvin Cook, but his numbers look Kamara / Austin Eckler. He's catching
No,
a ton of balls.
That's terrible though. His yards per catch is probably like 2.
Yeah, but he caught a lot of them.
What's
PPR numbers.
What are the yards per catch?
I mean, I could do the math for you real quick, but it's like PPR numbers. Like that's half a point per reception, my guy.
I watched a lot of games against the Steelers where they were just dumping it off to him, but there's no line. Like he couldn't get loose. Like on those
that's
screens.
6 yards a reception.
Really?
467 divided by 74. That's 6.3 yards per reception.
I don't know why that sounded way awful than like what it appeared.
Mean, Austin Eckler had 74 catches, which is only 4 less, but he had 647 yards, which is 9.2 per reception. So, like, I can see how some of the guys that I said he profiles next to in play are doing like a little bit more with the catches. But like the number of catches he gets, like, yo, dude's doing some different shit. And that was surprising to me because I didn't know he caught the ball that much while also still putting up 1,200 yards.
Yeah, I think, well, the shit, that's my bad on calling it out. Like, but he did a lot of those running back screens. Like, either he was getting jammed up at the line or he was just taking it for a minute. So, I mean, Steph, that's crazy to think that he got that much yards per carry on the.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I did not. His numbers stood out to me in a way that I did not expect from just like eye test watching him play at 8. All right, I like this one. No, I do not. But at 8, we got Aaron Jones. I feel like Aaron Jones at 8 is pretty reasonable. I want to say Sam had him at 9. I had him exactly at 8, and Keith had him at 7. So, like, we really have him back to back to back. Aaron Jones's season. Do we expect a crazy season from Aaron Jones, or do we expect things to kind of be eaten up a lot by the competition he has with big boy down there? I can't remember his name. AJ Dillon. There we go.
I think he's gonna get a lot of. No, I think him and AJ Dillon both might have big years.
Okay, Sam.
I agree with that. I think I expect him to finish top 10, like for fantasy running back purposes, and AJ Dillon I think could also finish maybe like top 25. But I still expect Aaron Jones to just be like kind of like the fallback, consistent, comfortable option, especially after losing Devontae Adams. He's like just a big part of their offense that I think they'll lean on.
Do we see 2 backs in the backfield in Green Bay this year?
Yeah, I mean, I can see them putting Dillon at fullback. He's big as fuck, so yeah.
Okay, vibes. Let's see. We got our 7, and our 7, Keith had ranked at 4, right? And I had him in 9. Sam had him in 7. You got to talk to us about Joe Mixon and what you see from him this year. You got him as a top 5 running back.
Me?
Yeah, you have him. You ranked him at 4 personally. He's our number 7.
That man was running behind no offensive line, bro. They went and got 2 dudes. They got a guard, and then they got old boy from the Cowboys, who I think is really good. Between all that, I mean, he's gonna make it shake. And I feel like they're gonna be more central. It's gonna be more, instead of heavy pass, he's probably gonna clip like 1,500 yards. Because last year, what he clipped?
1,200.
Yeah, so I can see him clipping 15 this year. And I don't think all 3 receivers are gonna get 1,000 yards. Like, I don't think they're throwing the ball like that again this year. Like, because they went, Jamar had what, 16. T was behind him with 13. Goddamn, Tyler Boyd was 970 something. I don't think they throwing the ball that much for that many dudes. So I think definitely you're gonna see a big jump. You should see a big jump from him.
Mm-hmm. He had 16 total touchdowns last year. Like that was a little bit surprising for me. Also had a decent yards per carry. I like Joe Mixon. I feel like he's consistently kind of under the radar for his production. At our number 6, real reasonable, Alvin Kamara, right? I had him at 7, Sam at 6, and Keith at 5. So Sam hits the nail on the head. Your boy Enola, suspension still not announced or sure or positive. What's up with Alvin Kamara this year?
I think that the only reason I don't have him in my top 3, maybe top 4 at the worst, is because of a looming suspension. We gotta hear how many games it's gonna be. Is this about to be a 2-game thing? If not, I think I'd move him way up from 6. Is it about to be a 4-game thing, 6-game thing? If not, I think I'd keep him. If it's around there, I think I'd keep him in like the 5 to 6 range. But I think Kamara is just set up to have another great year in New Orleans. Jameis coming back, more competition as far as touches go with Olave and Mike Thomas coming back and Jarvis, but I still think AK is just going to be huge staple in the run and pass game, and hopefully it's a shorter suspension. He can just get in and start building chemistry with all those guys quicker. But yeah, I mean, when he's able to play and if he's able to play, the majority of this season, I think he'll be one of the best running backs in the league every time he's playing.
Man looks crazy with the ball, bro. He looks crazy with his balance is like ungodly.
Okay, vibes. All right, we are at our top 5. Our 5 and our 4 separated by 1 point. Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler. All right, now I'm specifying fantasy draft to, just stay on the track of our fantasy versus real life correlation. You got them up there. You got to pick one. Who are you taking? You taking Eckler? You taking Chubb?
Chubb.
Sam?
I'm taking Austin Eckler.
Me too, man. There's nobody anywhere near the talent of Kareem Hunt yipping at Austin Eckler's like heels for carries.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't see it. But also, I think Austin Eckler is an underrated rusher. Like, he did not get a lot of carries early on in his career, but last year he finally eclipsed I want to say 180 for the first time ever, and he had 911 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, and 12 rushing touchdowns, 12 of them. He also put up another 8 touchdowns receiving. That's 20 all-purpose touchdowns. That's the same number as Jonathan Taylor.
Red zone monster. And of course, every time someone has crazy red zone conversion rate like that, a lot of people and just it's logical to want to say he's going to regress back to the mean and can't keep up that same level of production. And while that's true, just from a math standpoint and a logic standpoint, there's also just some truth to this dude scores the ball when they get close to the goal line and they go to him. And even if it's not at the same rate,
if it ain't him, it's Herbert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Herbert just taking it himself.
Yeah. I mean, there's those dudes you see it with Allen, you see it with Lamar, you saw it back in the day with Cam. I feel like at times you could see it with Russ. They're just all right, bro. You're either gonna catch this option or me and the running back are gonna run in the same direction, and I'm just gonna dump it to him.
Yeah, that shit is mad annoying for defenses, I have to imagine. All right, at 3, we got Dalvin Cook. And, it's interesting. I think Dalvin Cook is really good. It's he's a little injury prone. That's a big question. But he had almost 1,200 yards on 4.7 yards a carry. Keys has been on you think his game is going to expand with Kevin O'Connell being the new head coach. That's something you've been talking about a lot, about him catching the ball. I mean, dude caught 34 passes last year.
I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. Easy. How versatile he is. He's a bigger guy. Health is a concern with him. But, he is one of those that can be in and out. But he's special. I remember watching him at Florida State. now the team is not going to be so run focused with just him running the ball. It's going to be more versatile. So now you might see him out in the backfield catching those plays. He's still going to be running the ball. It's just not going to be just run. And maybe I wouldn't be shocked if you see a Kirk Cousins jump, to be honest, where like I'm not saying Kirk's going to go into the MVP, but like
Dalvin Cook is interesting to me because he is so much of Minnesota's offense, and his numbers so far have been very much in that offense where they ran first, they ran often. That's just like defensive coaches love to do that, right? Run the ball a ton, give our defense time, give us good field position, et cetera, et cetera. Kevin O'Connell, whatever philosophy he chooses to bring, it's almost guaranteed to be more pass friendly than what Mike Zimmer had going on there. And I'm not sure if that's going to not hurt the way that, like, you know, when you see Dalvin Cook on the field and what he can do and who he is. But maybe at the end of the year, you look down, you see his numbers, and you're like, oh, that's not really what I expected from Cook.
Yeah,
and that'd probably be, you know, better for the overall success of the team. You know, like you don't want to be putting it all on him, and maybe he's not getting 22 carries a game, but he is getting, you know, 15 and doing well on those 15 within the flow of the offense.
And some targets, like 15 and a couple passes. Yeah, I could definitely see that. All right, so at this point, we are at our final two, and they are 100% unanimous. We all had Derrick Henry as the number one running back in the league. We all had Jonathan Taylor as the number 2 running back in the league. Just a straight shot. Derrick Henry is obviously him. The fact that he almost had 1,000 yards last season, like he still put up 1,000 all-purpose yards last season and missed like half the season. Like it's absolutely nuts. Still had 15 rushing touchdowns. Like Jonathan Taylor was the only person with more rushing touchdowns than him. Like maybe James Conner, actually. James Conner had a ton. I mean, so everybody always talks about how, like, you, after that 2,000-yard season, things kind of fall off, right, for a lot of running backs. And we did see Derrick Henry finally get hurt, but, like, it didn't look like he was breaking down. It looked like freak accident in your foot.
Yeah, if Tannehill could have got them to that next round in the playoffs, I definitely think you would have saw Henry, like, not full Henry, like Derrick Henry, like, you know, but you definitely saw a better outing than what you saw that first game back. Because I had said, like, I don't even think he should come back for the game. But, you know.
So, okay, I was going to ask, do you think it would have been better to bring him back 1 week earlier? Or do you think it would have been better to not bring him back at all?
I think 1 week later, like, I would have expected them. You got to think, if Ryan Tannehill doesn't throw them interceptions, Henry didn't get a touchdown during that. He had, what, like 15 attempts for less than 40?
Okay.
He didn't do. I'll double check, but I don't think he did good in that.
He didn't have a great game, but like it was his first game back, which is why I was like, do you think you should have brought him back a week earlier to kind of get readjusted instead of on the week of the playoffs? Because they also had the bye, right? So if they brought him back week 17, they would have buyed after that and had functionally 2 weeks, and then he would have played again. Now, granted, you might not should have brought him back at all because he just wasn't healthy and all the way ready and whatnot. But that was something that stuck out to me.
They lost 19-16, bro. And Derrick Henry had 20 attempts for 62 yards. So actually he had more yards, but on 20 attempts, 3.1 in average. Foreman had four carries for 66. So he obviously broke one loose, insane. But, I mean, if that's the case, you probably could have rocked with Foreman out the gate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But Henry did get a touchdown that game. So, I don't know. They could have made it if Ryan Tannehill doesn't throw those interceptions. Like, that's where we're at. Like, at the end of the day, that's what we're at. We're there because my man can't throw the ball good enough.
Right. I mean, you ain't lying. Look, that wraps up our positional rankings for this season. We are going to start getting into our divisional predictions coming into the future weeks. We are Gonna break down the divisions, talk about the teams with the most to lose, the best at their advantages, and get those in before the beginning of the regular season so we can really hit stride on week 1 with you all and get into in-game, in-week analysis. So that's it for episode 78. I appreciate everybody that was listening. Make sure that you can hit us up at the Fly Route Pod on all social media platforms. We will take like suggestions. So you got like fantasy football questions, you got like any of that type of shit, send them to the flyroutepod@gmail.com. We'll take them, answer them, and let y'all know what we're thinking and hit y'all up with more content next week.
And we're going to do the fantasy draft for the podcast too. So that's coming up. We're going to have that. I'll send it out. We'll get some fans. We'll get some fans involved. See us on it. You know, you beat us. Maybe we'll do something for like charity or something if we can get something organized. But we'll definitely have a draft this year for fantasy. And we'll have some new people coming around too, new faces. Old face and a new face.
Facts, because T.O. was on here a bunch. Yo, speaking of the fantasy thing, are you familiar with Vampire Leagues?
I think that's where you get to play, like you have a defense and you get to pick defensive players. I normally just use ESPN.
No. Vampire League is like a special, basically rules for a league where one team is the vampire and they do not get to draft. And everybody else gets to draft. The vampire gets to pick the waiver wire at the end of the draft, and then they get waiver wire priority 1 for the rest of the season. And if they play you and they beat you, they get to steal a player from your team. But they do not get to draft. They have to build their entire team through the waiver wire. They get priority, and you can lose a player on your team if you lose to the vampire, because you probably shouldn't lose to the guy that did not draft anybody.
That sounds crazy.
Yo, I think it's interesting. I'm kind of interested in the concept. I don't know if we'll do it for our league right here, but if we did, I would volunteer to be the vampire. I'm like super interested to see how it
that
goes.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, I am super interested to see how it goes. I have a friend, shout out Eric, who did it last year, and he was trying to strategize with me, but he did it too late. And I was like, oh man, you're bad at this, because he beat somebody and took CMC, and I'm like, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. CMC is never going to play. You got to take a healthy guy that's like high production in a slot, you know? But something to think about. Vampire League would be cool, and maybe something we should think about doing. We will catch you all next week. Any other housekeeping things you want to let people know?
Yeah, Kyler just got paid, so Lamar is about to get the bag. I'm a geek.
Yo,
I am geeked. Nothing shy than 290. Nothing shy than 2. It has to be 2. Maybe you can go 285, but nothing shy. 285, 290. Shit, crack 300. I want him to crack 300.
Yeah, if you saw that, Kyler made sure to make his contract just a bit bigger than Deshaun's. Like Deshaun's was 46 a year, Kyler was 46.1.
And Kyler's like, bro. Kyler went 160 guaranteed or something like that. Boy, I need the whole contract guarantee. You just saw what you just. Hey, Lamar and his mom better make sure that whole contract guarantee. Ain't no way, boy. They fried.
Yeah, but that shit was big. That shit was big. All right, y'all. We'll hit you up soon.
The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod.